Well, welcome back to the Unlearning Curve. I'm with JD and Karl Forehand. I'm Stuart Delony. If you're wanting to follow us, find out more about what we're doing, you can find the Unlearning Curve on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. We're on YouTube, a podcast. And if you want to reach out to us, you have to email us at theunlearningcurvepodcast@gmail.com. If you want to reach out to us. And in the past two sessions that we've just been talking about Paula White and the prosperity gospel, and now speaking deeper into mental health, we're going to talk about how does the prosperity gospel impact mental health and prey on the vulnerable. So who wants to hop in on this one?
I will.
I'll go
Negatively.
first, and you guys can add some color to it.
Okay. Like swearing or?
Conservative evangelicalism in general, we start off with, I'm bad, I'm worthless, I'm no good, right? And so then a prosperity preacher tells us not only can you be saved, but you can be transformed, right? And if you're extra faithful, the Spirit's going to come upon you. It's going to be a separate work, a separate act, and it's going to change your life, and you not only be a new creation, as it says somewhere else in the New Testament, but you're going to be supernatural. And what that means is you will make more money, and you will be in better health, and God might even heal you. You might manifest that by speaking in tongues. And my thing is when that doesn't happen, which is very rare for people giving all their money to someone who misuses it as much as buying a private airplane, then you're gonna lose. And when you lose, it's your fault. If something good happened in there accidentally, then that was God, and praise be the name of God and our pastor and our elders and our bishops or whatever. But when it doesn't work, which is 99% of the time for the underlings, then you're going to feel shame, and you're going to keep feeling it over and over again, because you're going to go to conferences. You're going to keep trying to study harder and have more quiet time and give more money and do more for the church, hoping to find God's will and to find this wealth and prosperity that they're promising. And you're going to have that repeated shame. That's never, because of the miracle thinking, is never going to be addressed. It's never going to be treated as it should be, and you're going to continue in that cycle of shame as long as you stay there.
That sounds like what you're describing. It sounds like trauma fuel for this scenario, because I mean, it's a situation where essentially you have no control over the outcome, but you're really trying to control the outcome, whether it's prayer, giving, and all this other kind of stuff. You're always trying to crack the code and get whatever it is to finally either make God happy, to bless me, or whatever else. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's without any control, but you trying to seek this abstract control over your environment. That just has to be trauma fuel when at the end of the day, because it's not going to work, or you'll fool yourself into thinking it works sometimes. But in the end, like you said, Karl, shame. And it was just, if it didn't work, it's your fault.
Yeah. And I mean, this along that line, like it doesn't. And even if it quote unquote did temporarily, like it's the same, like if that all worked, then wouldn't just like the issues with these kind of pastors that say these things, we just need this one more donation. We just need $50 more. We just need $100 more. Then we're going to be done. But it's never done, because it's a fucking grift. Right. Like it's never done. And in terms of things like your health and things like that, like, do you think you're going to be the one person besides Jesus, if you believe that was a miracle thing that happened? Like, you think you're going to be the one that God chooses? You're going to be the one that God chooses to just be like, yeah, you just live forever. Like, no, like you're going to die. Like, let's be honest. Like, we're all probably going to die. Most people on this earth, if I'm checking my facts correctly, I think most people have died so far. So like, your health's probably going to get worse at some time. You can't just throw money at you might as well throw it into a public healthcare system, in my opinion. If you're just going to throw it at some guy who's like, well, I may heal you, but if, God's having a bad Tuesday, well, then he might just fucking kill you. think I'll take a doctor that's trained as opposed to a God that seems to be pissed off most of the time.
Last time I started talking about the people I'd witnessed over the years in ministry, the older ladies and things that have, you talk about having faith. There's no one I knew or to have known since that had as much faith as those people. To give your rent money to someone, you have to have a lot of faith in what you're giving it to. And they had tremendous amounts of faith, yet they're still struggling, still confused, and still just in that shame of, I'm just not that good. I have faith in God, but I have my doubts, but I'm not going to talk about those. They definitely had enough faith, way more than I could ever have. JD knows I'm tight. I don't, giving my rent money away to a preacher, I don't think that'll ever happen.
That also, it's just an irresponsible thing. Like, I feel like if you're trying to take other things, if you're trying to make a biblical worldview, like from the Bible, like personal responsibility is a big deal. I would think that some of the ethics of that would also factor into it, versus this idea, this random leap of faith that has, I feel
blind loyalty.
Faith is weaponized in this situation.
Yeah, because it can mean whatever you want it to. Again, I think we should just call it blind loyalty. Blind loyalty to an unproven, and if we look at the data, and a lot of times, like, again, if you want to say, like, if you just give all your money to the church, or you spend your whole life doing for the church, how well has that worked out for, like, even the people in the Bible? How well did giving your entire life, all your money, go for people that lived in the Bible? Not fucking well. Did it go well for Lot? Did it go well for Peter? Like, maybe Peter, I guess. But, like, most of the people got fucking murdered. Like, it's not good. I just don't think it's, like, a good pitch. Like, if you want to say, like, yeah, you're going to suffer. That's why I think Christianity does well when it's in the minority. Because it's just like, yeah, we're just going to suffer. And, like, it kind of sucks. But, like, we just got to kind of deal with it. But when it gets in the minority, or excuse me, when it gets in the majority, you deal with this shit. Where it's just like, well, if you just give all your money, God will make you super rich. It's like, that's not what it says in the Bible. It says that it's gonna suck the whole time, and then you're gonna get your reward in heaven. I think that's kind of more chill. My thing is, like, again, if you want to give all your money away, throw all your money into a commune and go live in a commune with a bunch of other Christians, and you guys all just, like, make your own shit, and, like, that's kind of cool. I'm cool. Like, just be hippies, but, like, don't give it to some asshole with a fucking G6. Like, that sucks. I hate that. Makes me so sad.
After the election, I just felt like I had a huge weight on me from the last 10 months or whatever. And the question is, why did I have that? Why did I feel that way? I felt that way, at least this is just me. I felt that way because at some point somebody convinced me that if I didn't do it, it wasn't going to get done. And I had huge guilt about that. I'd never had political signs in my yard, or really never donated to political causes or anything like that. I had walked a couple times in marches, but it's just this incredible guilt that, I could do more. I could do more. I could do more. And some of that's in our pathology anyhow. I need to be doing more. But especially for this, because this is God, this is my pastor who's right, and God's on his side. And so I should do this. If I do anything, I should do this. Just deny myself all the pleasures and fun things of life, even paying my rent. Because it's God. And it has a purpose. But it's just heaping on more shame when it doesn't work out.
And I think it also leans into I do think that there's a huge ethos in what Jesus teaches in the idea of there's a difference between doing and being. And as Karl, for someone who has written a book on being, which is available right now if anyone is interested. I'm working on your jet fund, Karl. No, but the idea, I mean, doing is easier than being for us. If you're going to say, like, I mean, if you give us mine's
$500 for today only, the special scepter blessing.
If you donate another $700, Mr. Forehand will sign it, and you'll automatically you won't die.
Scepter touch.
He'll cure all your diseases.
Put it in all orders.
Yeah, Karl will kill one demon that is bothering you per book, But if you have multiple demons, that's multiple books you're going to need.
I can't go any further with that joke, I guess.
But I just think it's a big push, because I think that the idea of contemplation and deeper understanding, and which is like part of the essence of being, it doesn't preach well. Like for people that are looking for kind of fast food religion, because they want quick fixes and stuff like that too. So I think pushing the doing of this aspect, that, you know, faith is some sort of a transaction, and you need to be the one writing the checks, literally, in this situation.
Yeah, well, it works for both ends, right? Because the people at the top get the money, the people at the bottom don't have to do any fucking work. They just give the money, and then everyone's supposed to be happy. The people at the bottom get screwed. People at the top make money. Hear me out, and I'm going to try not to go too far with this, but the problem could be the fact that we live in a capitalist system where we just commodify everything, including our identity, and we can just pay online to create this identity for ourselves, like buying crosses that we wear around our neck, even though it's a torture device that killed, quote unquote, our Lord and Savior. Like, is that couldn't be the problem. It's definitely not capitalism. That's not it. We need to keep this system going and deregulate the fuck out of it. Anyway,
do you have any better ideas that actually make sense, Jordan? I do like that one. So I want one that feels better to me.
While I do have this copy of Being by my favorite father, I do also have a copy of the Communist Manifesto in my room. And while I'm not a traditional Marxist, I do have some sympathy for like neo and post-Marxists. So I won't get into that too much because we're talking about religion here. But I do think people should think beyond the fact that we need to make everything transactional. And I think that if you read the Bible, especially Jesus's words, it certainly, maybe I'm blind. Maybe I have my rose-colored glasses on, maybe literally right now. But I don't think it tells us that we should just try to buy our faith. I think we should work for it. I think we should not worry about material possessions and perhaps move towards something better and do work. And it's going to be hard, and we're going to actually face some sort of opposition for it, as opposed to we're just going to cry about things that really we don't have to worry about. Like, someone said something mean to me on Twitter. Like, if that's your oppression, kindly take a long walk off a short pier for me, please.
Jesus and Paul both talk about contentment. You know, it's hard to really understand contentment until you get to be 60 years old and sit in your backyard and realize you have peace, comfort, tranquility, one with nature, all kinds of stuff right there that you took for granted. You know, that's what, it's kind of when people sacrifice the exceptionally good for perfect, trying to be perfect. It's the same thing. If I had a bigger house, if I had more, if I had a plane, then I would be happy. Right? And that's a destructive ideology, in my opinion. To keep implanting and infusing that in people, you got to want more. You got to want a lot. You got to want excessively, ridiculously large amounts of money, like I do. Then you'd be better. So maybe the guy Joel Osteen, maybe he's a decent guy, but what he does is criminal. It's criminal. Maybe he's a real nice guy and cool and smooth and good to his children. But what he does on stage is criminal. That he takes that much money from people just so he'll have a big house to be the example, so he can get more money. It's not good, and it hurts people. Because people dismiss it, saying they wanted to give their money to him, so they can give their money to whatever they want. Yeah, but he's manipulating that, and he's always getting more. He's never in a deficit. He doesn't have to worry about paying his bills, but a lot of his congregation does because they want what he has, which is all the money.
Yeah.
It
kills. You're very nice about this. It kills people. He has blood on his hands. He's a piece of shit, and if there is a hell, I hope he burns in it for eternity. But I don't believe in one, unfortunately, so that kind of sucks for me. But I think it's also like it's like. I think a lot of people need to like get out of their like environment and like experience. And this is me again, talking from an incredibly privileged position. Like, I've traveled to some other countries and I've seen like people who live in like pretty serious poverty. Like, a lot of times they are like more attuned with like things that are going on around them. And that doesn't mean like that's good, we should keep them in poverty. No, we should like, maybe people who have a lot of money, we should probably take some of it, because there's studies that show basically, there's a study from the United States, I'll share it with everyone if they want to see it, but basically about $76,000, I haven't adjusted for inflation, it was about 5 years ago, but after about $76,000 a year, your happiness starts to not increase with your wealth. It does go up from that point. So like comfortability to a degree does give people some like range of happiness. So I think there's something to that. But there is something to the fact that like being like having some degree of want, or like not just desiring that rat race, does make you appreciate like kind of what you have. And so again, maybe that's what maybe we should just make sure that we kind of take all the money from the billionaires and share it so everyone has about $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. I think there's probably some sort of ideology for that, but anyway.
Well, I think what you're connecting in is huge, JD, with this. I think people ultimately want security.
Yeah.
I think like money can provide, and wealth can provide some sense of security to where people feel like, oh, I've got my needs met and things like that. And I think that's what folks are searching for in these situations for the prosperity God. They're looking for some sort of security, eternal
And
security,
community.
and community. Yeah. And security in that as well. And I think that because of that, yeah, it plays off us. And we can't, I don't know. I mean, there is no prosperity gospel outside of like capitalism. I mean, I feel like it has to be a child of capitalism, I would assume.
Or some authoritarian. I think it's mixed, because there is like authoritarianism where you have like things like where, back in like the late, I guess not late minute, like Renaissance England, where you have Henry VIII taking over, getting rid of the Catholic Church so he can make sure to take a little bit more money for himself. And you have basically what is like kind of a prosperity gospel with some of the leaders after that, which are like trying to control the church to make more money for themselves. But yeah, it's only when you get up into those, like, and this is anecdotal, but being in the church, I noticed like a lot of people who were like, went into the church and like found a place. Like I think about people who like helped build the church, GBF that we were at, things like that. Like they may have had like a pretty bad life before, or maybe like were looking for something, but when they got into that and they like got steady, I think that was kind of good for them. There was also obviously, of course, a bunch of toxic stuff that went inside the church, but like that kind of stability can allow for like community to be built and for people to like blossom and prosper from that, not in a financial way, but in a way that like they actually like can like feel comfortable and like explore different things. I think that's good. But yeah, I think when it gets to that idea of like, we just have to have more and more and more, I think it's bad in general when it comes to economics, but I also think it doesn't make sense in terms of if you're trying to justify that with the gospel, besides cherry picking a handful of nonsense verses, it just doesn't make sense. And that's what
greed
I
is
think.
never okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. Again, maybe it's possible with Jesus. You can make that argument. Everything's possible with God. God works in mysterious ways. All the other bullshit tropes you can throw out. But like, for the most part, like that's the rule. You may be the exception that proves it, but like, that's the rule. So why don't we try to follow the rules? Why don't we give up all things and follow him, follow Christ, whatever? Like that would make me more happy. If I saw someone just go like, I'm going to give up everything and like devote myself to something like that, I would be like, okay, like respect. Like I don't agree with it necessarily, but like that makes more sense than to just be like, no, I'm going to like graft off of like the least of these, do unto the least of these. Do you think, was Jesus doing unto the least of these, meaning like he's going to take all their money? Like, I don't know. It drives me crazy. It makes
all
me
those
so
loaves
mad.
and fishes came from somewhere. He's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, we've got some in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you redistribute some loaves and fishes, and I don't know, instead of doing piss down trickle economics and saying like, well, you'll probably get yours eventually, and then you die and you never get any of it.
It's overly traumatizing when you've been abused by life. You're trying to find a complete transformation. And then these types of things say, not just that, you need enough to survive and you can be happy with what you have, which the Bible kind of teaches that. But then let's add on to that. It's not just good enough for you to be content and have your needs met. You should want more.
Mm-hmm.
You should want more. And when I do that, I start layering trauma on top of you. Those things trigger you, but
Yeah,
you can't you can't regulate it. So it's just it's adding more to your psychological backpack than you had before. And then it just never addresses. We might want to look at how we could help these people restore their mental health instead of just getting me another plane. Wow,
Yeah.
how narcissistic do you have to be? It's a really, really, really high level of narcissism that was probably nurtured by family and friends, because you were the ones that made it, right? So it's like a superstar athlete. I deserve it, right?
No.
And
That's
in this this
can
this
of
whole-
worms
this
that I don't want to open up, right?
and in this whole realm, like you look at it, if you're going to say I can, whether it's money or whether it's needing healing or other stuff, that I just need to pray and have enough faith, where's therapy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where they're not, therapy won't be part of any of this, because really it's just you, and only God can really heal you in this situation. And it makes God into this weird narcissist as well. I guess we frame him in our own image in a certain sense when we do this. But I mean, how awful is that, to leave someone in some sort of a place that either that has mental health issues or needs or things like that, and you keep telling them, oh, you're going to pray it away. You need to believe and it's going to go away. You need to keep doing this.
No.
It is only going to create more and more harm, and it's going to push people further and further away from even wanting to ask for help, which is just, I feel like it's a toxic spiral.
But isn't that exactly where they want them to be? Because
Yes.
I think, and whether it's conscious or subconscious, I think a lot of those leaders, just like cult leaders, want those people to be as far away from real help, people who are going to sit down with them. And there's a lot of money that goes into, things like visiting a psychiatrist or a psychologist or something like that and getting therapy. That's something that we need to deal with in the United States and in a lot of places, even in Taiwan, the country I live in. But those are something like things that you can work through. Even with community, you can't work through all those things. Maybe you need someone who's like a trained professional, but you can work through a lot of those. You can't work through those in a parasocial relationship where someone's just taking your money and making your situation demonstrably worse. That's not a solution to the issue. But I do think I think in some cases it's probably on purpose. In some cases, maybe it's just, I don't care. That's what cults do, is they want to distance you from real help, because if you get better, you're going to stop sending the money.
Mm-hmm. And that could be also you listening to a different voice of authority that could conflict with theirs.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, so at the time of this recording, a day or so ago, a couple of days ago maybe, someone got dragged out of a town hall meeting because they spoke up.
Idaho,
because they thought the speaker was just dominating, speaking, not letting people speak. She spoke up, and she eventually got dragged out of the thing for speaking up. The same thread is there in church, right? Even though this bothers you, you can't say anything. You certainly can't accuse the pastor of doing something wrong. We got to protect his career, protect the organization. You can't speak up. It's just got to be. It's like I said before. It's just piling on.
Well, until one of our relatives or one of my better friends wants to be the pastor of the church, and then we can create a whole shit show. Then it's okay. But yeah, until then, all hail the pastor, especially if he's bringing in money.
I think the best documentary I've ever seen on the prosperity gospel is called it was about a famous family called the Righteous Gemstones. Anyone? That's a very good documentary. Even though I know it's comedy, if you've been around churches like this and watched it, it's gross. Like, I remember my wife had a hard time watching the first season because she was like, okay, I recognize a lot of this, even though they're doing this for funny. This is they know somebody on that writing staff knows someone that has been heavily involved in it, in some sort of a prosperity gospel-based church. It's uncanny and ridiculous, but yeah, the ethos is very correct. Are we good?
It frustrates me. I'm trying not to rant. Dad, you go.
I was going to say, independent fundamentalist Baptists have a similar thing. So it's not the prosperity and money; it's the big family, the many arrows in your quiver.
Yep.
You should want more, even if it bankrupts you and you can't provide for them and all this kind of thing. Anyway, different cult, different approach, same effect.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of mentally ill people.
Either way, people are getting screwed.
Yeah.
One of those is a little bit more
sepulcher.
fun, I would think, though. But anyway.
No, it's not the sepulcher, it's the scepter.
Oh, okay.
The tip of the sepulcher.
Anyway, there's shafts involved. It's fine. I just think my thing is like that's why I think we like it, like genuinely, like whether it's people who are Christians or people who are not, or people who are deconstructing or whatever label you want to put on stuff, like we do just have to like genuinely create like genuine communities. And I think I stress this a lot, and because I really believe it, and because of like the data that I've looked at, it has to come at least partial. It can be partially online, I think, like to some degree, like we can't escape that. But I do think we have to have like in-person community. We have to have
shared
people
space.
that it's like, yes, where it's like, listen, if you have a problem, you come to my house. Like I tell my students this all the time. I have students that have diagnosed mental illness. I'm like, listen, you can send me an email if you're at home and you're having some sort of problem, but like just come to me during class or come to my, like I have kids that have issues, whatever, whether it's diagnosed or not, and they'll just come to my classroom. They'll be like, I have a class, but like I'm dealing with some whatever right now. I need to just be in a quiet space, or I need to talk about something. And we can do that. And again, I'm not a trained professional, but we don't have trained professionals where I work. So it is what it is. Like, I'm going to try to make that the best that we can. And again, then we should also try to get people to professional help and things like that. But we have to build those things first, because otherwise it's so easy for these cult leaders, these grifters, whatever like verbiage we want to put on it, to just take advantage of these people. And it's not tenable. It's not acceptable. So I think we have to figure out how to get to that point, even if it's just saying to a person who's a family member or whatever, like, I get it, you're doing this thing, you're doing this church thing, but if you ever want to talk about something, I'm here. Like that's at least where we can start with the base of is, listen, I'm here for people. If you want to text me, if you want to call me, if you want to come visit me, I'm here. And I think that like a lot of people think like, I don't know what to do, I'm not a trained professional. But if you sit with people, I think Dad's told this on the podcast before. And again, I didn't do anything, but he was going through some stuff and he called me. We were on the phone and he was going through his shit and I just was there. And I didn't do it again. I didn't do anything. I'm not special. I just sat there and listened to what he had to say. And that can mean, and I've had people do that for me as well. And just being there for someone means a fucking lot.
For sure.
It's a good rant to end on.
And
I like
guillotines.